This week, Microsoft announcing it is laying off nearly 4% of its workforce.
The CEO of Amazon telling the company's employees that some of their jobs will be replaced by AI.
The tech industry spent 2 years firing developers and replacing them with AI. By 2026, the companies that did it are drowning in bugs, security holes, and code nobody understands. The plan did not work, and the damage is only getting started. The promise. Why everyone believed it. When leading AI researchers predicted in 2023 that machines would replace the majority of software developers within 2 years, the tech industry did not treat it as speculation. It treated it as a roadmap. The timing aligned with rising interest rates that had already made cheap money-era headcount impossible to justify. AI gave companies a narrative that turned a financial decision into a strategic vision. You were not cutting costs. You were building toward the future. The numbers that followed were staggering. 152,000 tech workers were laid off globally in 2024. Intel, Amazon, and dozens of other major companies cut tens of thousands of additional roles in early 2025.
It seemed like a normal news report until the end.
Because I'm not real.
Last night, UK audiences watching a show about AI taking jobs, stunned to learn that was happening in front of their eyes.
In a British TV first, I'm actually an AI presenter.
Each announcement framed around AI-driven efficiency. Entry-level hiring across the sector fell by nearly 50% in 2 years. The junior developer pipeline, the mechanism through which the industry had always produced its next generation of senior engineers, was closed almost entirely on the assumption that AI would perform that work instead. The market rewarded every announcement. Block fired 4,000 people. The CEO cited AI capability as the justification, and the stock rose over 20% in a single day. Oracle committed $156 billion to AI infrastructure, while simultaneously laying off 30,000 employees to help fund it. The message being sent to investors was consistent: human headcount is a legacy cost, and AI is the replacement. What was happening inside the companies told a different story. The reality, what the engineers were actually experiencing.
But first, here's how it plays out. As an experiment, we've illustrated it using text-to-video AI.
The Guardian spoke to 7 current and recently laid off engineers at Block after the mass firing. Every single one said the same thing. The AI tools did not work the way leadership claimed. The code they produced was not production ready. It was syntactically plausible, but logically unreliable. Code that looked correct until it failed in ways that were difficult to diagnose, because nobody had written it with any understanding of the broader system it lived inside. One engineer described the shift in how AI was handled internally. It started as encouragement. Try the tools, see what helps. Then it became monitoring. Managers tracked which tools employees were using and how many tokens they were consuming. Then it became an ultimatum. Use AI visibly and frequently, or have your position questioned. Employees were being asked to document their workflows and demonstrate how AI could assist with each task. Some of them understood in retrospect what that documentation process actually was, a map of everything that would eventually be used to justify their elimination. The engineers who survived the cuts found themselves managing consequences the tools had created. Workloads did not decrease when 4,000 colleagues left. They multiplied. One employee described their workload as having increased 10 times. The AI was supposed to absorb the difference. It was not doing so. Independent research confirmed what the engineers were reporting. A study of AI-generated code found it produced nearly double the number of issues per pull request compared to human-written code. Security failure rates in AI-generated Java code exceeded 70%. And experienced engineers using these tools were not getting faster, they were getting slower, spending significant portions of their working week reviewing, correcting, and refactoring output that had introduced new problems into codebases while appearing to solve old ones. The debt, what AI code is actually costing.
Anthropic just released a new study that changes how we build software with AI. They tracked 52 engineers and found that while AI crushes routine tasks, it actually stops you from learning the skills required to become a senior engineer.
There is a concept in software engineering called technical debt. The accumulated cost of shortcuts, undocumented decisions, and poorly structured code that future developers will have to pay down in time and effort when they try to build on top of it or fix it when it breaks. Every codebase carries some. The question is whether the debt is manageable or whether it is compounding toward a crisis. An analysis of 10 billion lines of code conducted in 2025 estimated that it would take 61 billion working days to fully address the world's current technical debt. That number was already alarming before the AI coding wave arrived. What AI-assisted development has done to that figure is not yet fully measurable, but the direction is clear. The specific problem is what engineers have started calling the slop layer. AI coding tools generate code that works in the narrow context of the immediate task without any structural understanding of the system it is being integrated into. It tends to solve problems by copying similar patterns from elsewhere in the codebase rather than designing elegant, reusable solutions. The result is a layer of functional but architecturally incoherent code that nobody fully understands, that cannot be reliably extended, and that when it breaks, produces failures that are extraordinarily difficult to diagnose, because the logic behind it was never human logic in the first place. Companies trying to save money on developer headcount today are taking out a high-interest loan against their engineering future. The savings are visible on this quarter balance sheet. The cost is invisible until the day a system fails in production, in a way nobody can quickly fix, because the code responsible was generated by a tool that is no longer running and nobody remembers commissioning. One of the most striking illustrations of this risk came from a 2025 incident where an AI system asked to clear a project cache misread a configuration flag and executed a recursive deletion on a production directory instead. 2 terabytes of production data wiped in seconds. The AI logged response to the event was that it had made a catastrophic error in judgment. The apology did not restore the data. This is the accountability gap that no amount of capability improvement directly addresses. An AI system can perform a catastrophic action and have no meaningful consequence for having done so. The hiring collapse. Who is paying the real price? The human cost of this miscalculation is not evenly distributed. Senior engineers with established reputations and demonstrable system-level expertise have largely retained their positions. They are the people who can supervise AI output, identify its failures, and understand architectures complex enough that no current AI tool can reliably navigate them. Their value increased as AI limitations became apparent. The people who paid the price were everyone else. Junior developers were the first to be cut and the last to be reconsidered. Entry-level hiring fell nearly 50% as companies convinced themselves, I would handle foundational work. What they failed to account for was that junior developers are not merely cheap labor performing simple tasks. They are the mechanism through which an industry builds its next generation of senior engineers. You do not get a senior developer in 5 years without hiring a junior developer today. The pipeline was not merely slowed. In many organizations, it was stopped entirely. The consequences for the people caught in this are severe. A former Google engineer who was laid off spent 2.5 years applying to over 3,700 positions and personally contacted more than 2,000 company founders. He received 0 offers. He burned through his savings and lost his housing. He was not an underperformer who had been quietly managed out. He was a credentialed engineer doing precisely what conventional career advice recommended, applying broadly, networking aggressively, customizing every application. The hiring system itself had changed in ways that made conventional approaches ineffective. Companies were using AI to screen applications. AI screening tools preferred AI-generated resumes, human candidates with genuine experience, but resumes that did not match the pattern recognition of automated screening were being filtered out before any human reviewer saw their application. 70% of laid-off tech workers in a community survey reported being unemployed for more than 6 months. 85% reported being ghosted after initial contact. The front door to the industry had not merely become more competitive. For a significant portion of displaced workers, it had effectively closed. The financial reality, Oracle and the infrastructure bet that may not pay. The companies firing people to fund AI infrastructure are making a bet that requires the infrastructure to generate returns large enough to justify the debt taken on to build it. Oracle position illustrates the risk of that bet at maximum exposure. The company committed $156 billion to build cloud infrastructure for OpenAI, raised $58 billion in debt in 2 months to help fund it, and now carries over $100 billion in total debt, with another $248 billion in future data center lease obligations not yet on the published balance sheet. Moody rates Oracle only 2 notches above junk. Banks have pulled back from Oracle-linked financing. The company is requiring new customers to pay 40% of costs up front before construction begins, a structure that reflects how lenders currently assess the risk of Oracle commitments. The customer Oracle built this infrastructure for, OpenAI, has already begun shifting near-term capacity needs to Microsoft and Amazon. Oracle stock lost over half its value between September 2025 and early 2026. $463 billion in market capitalization gone. The 30,000 people Oracle fired were not replaced by machines that are reliably performing their work. They were fired to free up capital to build infrastructure for a customer whose commitment has already softened. The AI narrative provided the public framing. The actual driver was a financial bet that is now under severe pressure. The structural problem, what this cycle is actually about. Every major tech disruption in recent decades has followed a consistent pattern. Companies overhire when capital is cheap. When capital becomes expensive, they find a justification to cut. Offshoring in one era, automation in another, AI in this one. The explanation changes. The mechanism is identical. Cheap money enabled hiring layers of coordination and management between the people building products and the customers paying for them. Expensive money makes those layers economically indefensible, and they get eliminated. AI is the current justification, but the underlying cause is interest rates. What is genuinely new this time is the damage to the talent pipeline. Previous cycles cut costs in ways that preserved the career paths through which future talent developed. This cycle specifically targeted the entry point. A 22-year-old who graduated with a computer science degree in 2024 and cannot get an entry-level position is not merely unemployed. They are being prevented from accumulating the experience that would make them valuable 5 years from now. The companies that stopped hiring juniors in 2023 will face a senior engineer shortage in 2028 that they will have directly created. After the dot-com collapse, Silicon Valley remained 17% below its 2001 employment peak 7 years later. The current downturn is tracking against comparable or worse numbers, and it is 3 years in with conditions still deteriorating rather than stabilizing. The companies that fired developers and called it AI transformation are now managing code bases full of structural debt nobody understands. Security vulnerabilities that are failing standard tests at extraordinary rates, and experienced engineers who are slower with the tools than without them. The promise was a leaner future. What arrived was a more expensive present. Drop a comment telling us whether you think the pendulum swings back toward developers or whether this is permanent. Check the end screen for more technology reality checks sitting there, waiting.